Welcome to Ninon Speaks. I'm your host, Ninon de Rosa, and my co-host is AJ Dean. Sit back and enjoy the show. Welcome to Ninon Speaks. I'm Ninon de Rosa, your host, and we have a fabulous guest on, but you know something? I never introduced our guest. I leave that to my co-host, so I'm going to go right over to my co-host, AJ Dean. She's also my producer, and let's introduce our guest today.
Hi, Ninon. It's great to see you again. Thank you for a wonderful time in Vegas. And we have a beautiful and fabulous show today with a very special VIP guest from Manchester, England, Sir Marco Robinson. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He is fabulous. He's an actor, producer, award-winning filmmaker, entrepreneur, and he is knighted by our beloved Queen Elizabeth. I want to let you know he's also the best-selling author and a motivational success and business coach and an international speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce Sir Marco Robinson. Welcome.
Okay, Sir Marco, I'm going to address you as Sir Marco because you earned that. You did a lot of work growing up, getting into your business, and you deserve to be called Sir Marco. Now, Sir Marco, when you got this when you were knighted, you know, bomb, and all how they do it, what was going through your mind?
Of disbelief, really. I mean, you know, it was kind of very bizarre because I never expected that to happen. And I didn't go out to get a knighthood. I just went out there to make a difference.
Yes, yeah. But then I know why you got it, because you had no motive in sight. You had no motive to gain this or to have this or how do I get it and all that crazy stuff. You just went out and did what you wanted to do. Yeah. And obviously it is helping other people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think if you can, in this world, help other people, because God has given you more than he gave somebody else maybe, or he gave it to you because you have the intelligence to drive it, because you have to be able to drive what you have with what you're given out there. How do you drive it?
You drive it by having a burning desire to be better than what your original programming was. So, you know, my original programming was survival, not thriving. You know, my background was very, very difficult, very traumatic, because my mum left my dad when I was 2 years old. She was 23. My dad was a gambler. He was an addict. And still is a gambling addict.
So you're still keeping up the trend, huh?
Yeah. So she had no choice. She had to leave him because she had no money. So she went to live with her mum and her stepfather in the north of England, which was very cold. It was January.
Oof, yeah.
And her mum and her stepfather were in the doorstep, and she was in the doorstep with me in her arms. Oh, now, what I didn't know at that time was that my mum had been sexually abused by her stepfather since she was 4.
How did you find that out? How did all that suddenly rise?
Well, she only told me that when she was 72 years old.
Wow. So she kept that a secret from you. I'm quite sure as a mum, she didn't want to burden you with her problems, and she wanted you to grow up and to have your desires without any interruptions of feeling sort of embarrassed, feeling bad about your mum.
I think that was part of it. Yeah. And in those days, she did tell her mum, but no one would believe her. And of course, her stepfather had his children with her mum. So she didn't, although she tried to tell people, they basically said, don't even speak about it. And that was the generation. You don't speak.
I was going to say that was the generation of those days. Those days, anything to be. I mean, I've got a few in my closet which can come out, and they've come out in the last few years, of something I never did, but it's something that's growing. Being part of the family, you're embarrassed to talk about it because then people, especially in England, oh my goodness, they lower your degree of worthiness.
Yeah. So. And you know, when she was 12, he put his hand on her breast and said, I didn't marry your mum for your mum, I married your mum to get to you. You know, how terrifying is that? Wow. So she was on the doorstep with me, and her stepdad said, it's either me or them, to my grandma. And my grandma said, you cannot stay here. So we slept in the park for 3 nights. We nearly died. And she protected me. She did everything to keep me alive. And eventually people picked us up and took us in, and we recovered. And she wasn't educated in university, so she couldn't get a professional job. She had to work casual jobs. And I went to about 30 schools before I was even 10 years old. And I was the little boy with ginger hair, very white, very shy, because I couldn't speak very well, because I was like moving around all the time. I had no roots, no base, no security.
And you were probably a little frightened too to speak, because you didn't know
I mean, I was
the right thing or not.
Yeah, I was in fear a lot. I was. But when you're exposed to fear a lot, you kind of get numb to it. Eventually, you kind of get comfortable with fear, and you think, well, hang on a minute, I can handle this. And, you know, right now I'm grateful that happened to me, because it made me a very, very strong person. So we have to think that as a blessing in disguise.
You know, funny you say that, because I often think of a lot of things my family did that were not a little bit the same as you. We weren't ever that part to be in the streets, but I've had the same sort of upbringing. And when you get older, you kind of turn around and look at it as an advantage of something that you actually had to cope with, that made you stronger, made you think harder, make you go in a different direction, because you didn't know that direction, because you were never taught it. So you had to kind of work around all this crazy stuff. But you're right, it made you stronger and better.
Yeah, it did. And because I was stronger, and because I was bullied, literally every school I went to, I was bullied like crazy. I mean, you know, it was.
Was that because you were white, you know, really, really white, and the red hair?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I dyed my hair with shoe polish, just kind of disappear a lot, you know. And you know, kids in schools are very unforgiving. They're very ruthless. So, and I went to the last school I went to was a boys' school, so I got bullied to crap. And when I was 15, I was in a garage of my so-called friend's house, and I was in the middle of a circle being punched and kicked by 20 boys.
Oh my goodness.
And then something instinctively went on inside me. I saw red, literally. And the last thing I remember, I was running down the road chasing 20 boys, saying, "Come on!
Get me!"
Because I fought back. It was an instinct.
And and you didn't realize to do that before, because you weren't brought up to do that.
I didn't do it before because I guess I was I was very insular in my mind and my imagination. I didn't want to engage with anybody. So when it was threatening my life, my instinct was to fight back. And that's what I did.
And that's what you did. So when you started going out into the business world, how did you know what you wanted to do? Or did you do several jobs before that?
I had no idea what I wanted to do, to be honest with you, because when I was in that kind of childhood, I didn't have a role model. I didn't have a mentor. So I didn't know what potential that I had. I mean, my thoughts were, oh, am I going to be a cleaner? Ooh. Because literally that was my environment. You know, I got quite a few casual jobs, like 4 jobs when I was 15 and dropped out of school. And that's what I was doing, you know, and my internal narrative was, you know, is this all there is?
Is this all there is? Is that all there is?
Why am I such a loser? Why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. And all my friends are going to university.
I know all that. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. So where was the turning point?
The turning point was my mum married my stepfather when I was about 10, and he was really nice, but then he turned very violent and he physically abused my mum, and I ran away from home a lot. And in school, I would be the boy at the back of the class looking out the window. Oh. So when I got to 15 and I got bullied, that was a turning point in the sense of that I knew I could look after myself. That was a big turning point.
Cool.
It wasn't until I was 21 years old that I went into, I decided to leave the small town I was in because I just hated it, right? And I was offered a job, commission-only job, selling timeshare in the 80s. And it was very, very tough because I was very shy. I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't want to go back to the kind of scarcity that I'd been experiencing before. I didn't want to do that. I thought, right, I have to do something about it. So I took the job. I was the worst salesperson in the company ever. Okay.
So how long did that job last?
Well, it lasted 4 weeks until the boss said,
I figured that.
yeah, until the boss said, Marco, if you don't sell something in the next 2 days, we're going to fire you. Now, my home was 5 miles to the office and back. And I didn't have money for a train fare. I didn't know anybody, so I couldn't get a lift. So I used to walk. Okay. So my internal narrative was, again, why can't I sell anything? Why am I such a loser? So I was tempted to go back to the hometown, but something stopped me, said, no, I'm not going to do that. And when the boss told me you're going to get fired in 2 days, I changed my internal questioning to, how can I be successful? How can I be successful? How can I be successful? And I kept repeating that question, eventually shouting it down the road, shouting it like that. And the following day, I went into the office and the top salesperson approached me for the first time ever. And he said to me, Marco, I know you're feeling pain right now. I know you think you're going to get fired, but I used to be like you. I was just like you. I was suffering. I had no money. I was homeless. And I said, no way you were like me. He said, yes, I was. And he told me his story. And he said, listen, I want to help you because someone helped me. So what I want you to do is to listen to me. Don't listen to anybody else. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a book. I want you to go home and read the book until you get the message. Now, because he was the top salesperson, he was qualified. I respected him. He knew he was the authority.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because I wanted to be like him.
What a break. What a break that he recognized you. What a break.
Exactly. So I ran home. I read the book 8 times in the same night. Didn't go to sleep. And I ran to
you only had 2 days.
Well, yeah, 24 hours. I read the book, ran to the office, and it was so sweaty. My suit was wet through. They sent me home to get changed, right? So that was another kick in the balls, wasn't it? So eventually I got back to the office, and my first clients were both blind. He was blind, she was blind, and they had a guide dog. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, how the hell am I supposed to sell them timeshare when they can't even see me? You know?
Wow, what a challenge.
What a challenge. So, but the thing was that internally, I'd shifted my belief system. I didn't know at the time, but my behavior was way different because I didn't care about losing anymore. So I said to them, I said, listen, you're going to sit there. I don't care if you're blind. You're going to sit there for 4 hours. You're going to love what I'm going to share with you. And you're going to get your credit card out and spend £10,000 with me in 4 hours' time. And you're going to give me a big hug and telling me it's the best thing you've ever done.
Talk about being positive.
Yeah.
So 4 hours later, they own a timeshare.
So 4 hours later, he handed me his credit card and said, you were right, Marco. We can't believe this, but we absolutely love what you've been talking about. We would have bought it sooner, but you wouldn't shut up. Okay. And then that was the story. And I said, my first reaction was, because that was the first ever success I ever had in my life. So my first reaction was, why did you buy from me? That was my first question to them. And they said,
did you ask them that?
I asked them that question.
In other words, you didn't just like take the credit card, relax, and like at last that now you want to question. Now you want to question how you could sold something. That is funny.
I took the credit card, but after the sale was processed, I said, why did you buy from me? And they said, this is your first sale? I said, yeah, it's my first ever sale. And they couldn't believe it. They were laughing until tears came out of their eyes. And anyway, 10 minutes later, they said, listen, the reason we bought from you is because you transferred your belief to us and you convinced us this was the best thing for us. And that, when he said that, that was the pivotal moment that changed my life forever. Yeah.
Isn't that absolutely amazing? So now you kind of walked your 5 miles back to where you were living, and you were kind of feeling probably on top of the world and thinking, now what am I going to do next and how I'm going to achieve next? Did you stay? You obviously didn't stay in that business. Obviously.
Oh, I did stay. I actually did stay because I wanted to, because when I got that confidence that I could actually do that, I wanted to be the top salesperson.
Of course you did. Of course. You were.
I became the top salesperson after 1 year.
So then you realized that whatever you did, if you put this effort into it and you really learned about it, that you could actually become the top. In other words, you weren't taught through all your young years of listening and retaining, and somebody came along and said, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. It's something you'd never done, and you were in desperado at the moment. And so you decided, but what my thing is that you concentrated on the book. You read the book, you read it, what you said 9 times in that night. That's absolutely amazing. So that is actually the beginning of where you are now, sir. So
yeah, that was the beginning. And, I became the youngest sales manager in the company ever. And I broke the world sales record in sales.
The world?
And I got headhunted literally from countries all over the world that wanted me to obviously come there and turn their companies around.
Of course.
And I got offered a job in Malaysia.
Of all places.
Yeah, of all places. And of course, my family said, don't go. Friends said, don't go. It's like a third.
I know, they all say that. Families don't like you going anywhere.
And then, they gave me an unbelievable offer. And I went over there and I was like blown away by the place. It was so advanced, so amazing. Everyone spoke English. It was amazing. The technology was amazing.
And they probably loved you because you were English. It's funny, the entire world seems to love English-speaking people. And I mean, people actually from England.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me learn the language. They insisted, don't speak English.
Yeah, I know, they love it. They asked me, in America, they asked me, speak English, speak. And I'm thinking, what do you mean speak? I'm speaking already. I'm like, oh. So this must have been amazing. So Malaysia, you became the top sales.
So I went to Malaysia. I was the CEO of a public company, and I turned it from $2 million that was losing money. And within 3 years, I turned it into a $2 billion company.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Isn't that amazing? AJ, what would you like to ask Sir Marco?
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. I'd like him to
talk about one.
Just one. I want him to talk about his fabulous, the undisputed online success formula. I want him to share his wonderful product. Can you share it with us?
Yeah, I can share a little bit about that. So I've got to share how that came about. So when the pandemic came, and before the pandemic, I'd always wanted to have an online business or a few online businesses, but I was doing so well, I didn't need it. And then as I got older and older, I thought, I really need to do something because I don't want to be on a plane 3 times a week. I was getting really fed up of doing that. And then the pandemic came and I thought, okay, I can't Opportunity. So I decided I'm going to do that. So I paid some of the best coaches in the world a lot of money to train me. And I developed a formula where I can teach anyone how to start an online business. And that's the online success formula is an acronym. So success is an acronym. So the letter S stands for story. So the most important part of your business is your personal story. When you can share that, people connect with you, they trust you, they realize that you're an asset to them.
Yes.
And then we talk about branding and building the strategic marketing formula, the last pillar, building the funnel, getting the leads. And I started 2 online businesses on January the 18th.
And what are they?
So one's the way I teach people how to start an online business, maybe to start using their knowledge and expertise that they can teach other people what they know.
What they went through and where they've come.
Yeah. Or they can start their own social media agency, or they can do some e-commerce. So I teach people how to do that.
Yeah.
And my other online businesses, I teach people how to get their film to Netflix and the big screen.
Oh,
how
about Ninon Speaks?
Well, why not? Anything's possible, right?
Yeah, anything's possible. I mean, just that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a Netflix or somewhere to go. So, maybe I'll start paying you millions of dollars and see who I can get to.
Yeah, so I started those 2 businesses, and of course, I got into it.
Yes.
Using my experience because I had a strong mindset. So for me, I didn't know. I got the coaches, but I hadn't executed yet. So I executed. I did £75,000 in the first month online from my flat.
So that's £75,000. You know what that is, AJ? That's about 100,000, isn't it?
Yeah.
110 something.
So basically, I learned how to do it, and now I'm in the process of automating it, so I don't have to be there all the time.
I was going to say, now you're at home all the time. Are you going to stay living in Manchester? Because you seem to like it there. No. So
because actually the true story is I moved here because I fell in love with a girl.
That's always happened.
And the girl was in Manchester and said, listen, come and live here. And so I went here.
Yeah.
And then 3 months ago, we split up.
Oh, no. Oh, you're available? Are you available?
Yeah, so that's why I'm still here, but I don't really want to be here anymore. So, yeah.
So what about, probably move back to London on the outskirts of Malaysia or anywhere. You can go anywhere you want, actually, can't you?
You could go to Las Vegas.
Well,
yeah,
I think they'd eat him up, Helen. I think the wrong women would eat you up, and because
I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've seen all that stuff. Yeah,
you've seen all that stuff. Been there, done that.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. So
when you're in your 50s, sex is not the biggest part of your life.
I couldn't agree with you more. Life is a little bit, definitely 100% more than that. And it's more than the compatibility of being together and having fun together and understanding, because, when two people get together, you're getting two people that are totally strangers coming from strange different families. I mean, look at your story. And then I look at my story, and then there's AJ's story, and it's like 3 different stories you try to get together. So what are you going to do? She's now gone. So now, and you're obviously not looking, because obviously something will come along.
I just don't. I'm not interested in romance right now at all.
No, I agree with you. I couldn't.
I was emotionally compromised I still am a little bit. It took me a long time to get over that. Yeah. So now I'm just focusing on work. I'm focusing on work. That's it. Yeah. That's all.
And that really gets you where you want. How long have you been a sir?
2015.
2015. So you've been a sir for 6 years. That's absolutely amazing. Do you find that because you're now, Sir Marcus, do you find that gets you kind of into lots of doors and lots of places? Because you seem to have got into them before anyway.
I mean, I didn't need that title to do that, because I've done a lot of things. I've had my own Channel 4 primetime TV show, so I was already notorious.
Already established.
Already established. But what it does, it creates a curiosity. But because I'm not, to be honest with you guys, I'm not into the royal family. I'm not into titles. But the reason that I accepted that was because I wanted to draw attention to philanthropy.
Yes, absolutely.
I wanted to show people that you need to help people that are less fortunate, that can't help themselves. Yeah. I
couldn't agree with you more, actually. Well, you and one of the Beatles, what is it, Paul McCartney? You're both sirs now, aren't you? So have you met him yet?
No, I've not met Paul yet. I've not been out. We've not been out, have we? We're locked down.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pandemic actually did you good, actually, because it got you into your second business and what you're doing right now. Yeah. There's a question I always ask, but I'll ask this generically. Usually I ask it for the younger generation. But what would you like to say to the people that can't quite get on out there, and they don't quite know which step to take next? What can you advise them?
Well, my advice is that, let's be realistic. Most people don't know what the hell they want to do with their lives in the teenage years and the 20s. They don't know. That's the honest truth, right? Most people are kind of going with the flow, okay? Yeah. And the reason for that is because everyone's conditioned to be average. The education system conditions you to be average. The education system conditions you don't learn about financial success. You don't learn about communication, relationships, nothing like that. So you are going into the world unequipped to deal with life.
Yes.
And it's only a very few people, like the 1%, like the Elon Musk, the Bill Gates, the Steve Jobs, that go against the grain and say, listen, I don't need university. I don't need traditional education. I know what I want to do.
Correct.
So what I would advise anyone to do when they're very young is to, first of all, travel, explore, and have a great adventure with your life. And when you're traveling and seeing the wonders of the world, ask yourself, what am I here for? What am I doing here? What's it all about?
Big question.
Yeah. Just ask yourself a lot of questions. So, when I was young, I asked myself a lot of questions. But in terms of motivating me to change my behavior, Tony Robbins gives the best advice on that. He says, there are 2 triggers that get you to change your behavior: desperation or inspiration. Everything in between that is called a comfort zone that doesn't make any difference. So desperation is pain. People do more to avoid pain than to create pleasure.
Look what you did. You did it. You're a prize example.
Yeah, I had so much pain
Yes.
that I had to do something about it. A lot of people don't have that pain trigger.
Well, they're comfortable and they don't want to step out of that zone. They don't want to make that step forward. You know, they don't want to.
Yeah, it's like the frog in the pan of water. If you put a frog in cold water and turn up the heat slowly, it's going to die, but it won't know.
That's right.
If you try and put a frog in boiling water, it'll get out.
So it'll jump out immediately, yeah.
That was me, but I didn't know where to go until I found the inspiration. And the inspiration is, when I was a young boy, looking out the window in the classroom, I went to my imagination first, because that was the only place that I could live. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And sometimes we would call that daydreaming, but you were not daydreaming. Yeah. You were kind of looking out there because there was nothing interesting in that class that was grabbing your
life
attention.
Was a mess. Yeah. It was horrible.
Yeah.
So when I went inside, I found salvation.
Yes.
I was able to get really good at visualizing what I wanted to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's my advice to everybody watching this is, you know, you don't need to take massive action all the time. You need to rest and reflect and say, listen, get some peace and quiet, go into nature.
Take a walk, do something. Do something different in your life that you've always done.
Something natural that triggers natural hormones, dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, oxytocin. So those are the 4 hormones that are natural, that when you trigger them, you get into what we call a peak state. So dopamine is the hormone that's triggered when you achieve something yourself and work for it yourself.
Yes.
So for example, when you've done this podcast, you're going to get a shot of dopamine. I will as well, because I think
we all will. We all will.
Yeah, we all will.
Because we're out there. We're putting ourselves out there. We're going into the unknown. I don't know you from Adam, and I don't know what's going on.
Whenever you do any work that you've worked hard for, you get a shot of dopamine. It's a fantastic feeling. Even when you exercise in the gym, you get a shot of dopamine because you've achieved something. And the next hormone is called serotonin, which is the happiness hormone. Now, serotonin is the hormone that's actually synthesized in antidepressants.
Oh, so that opens up?
Yeah. So don't take antidepressants. Learn how serotonin is triggered. Now, serotonin is triggered by gratitude. Okay. By being grateful for what you are, who you are, and what you've got every day. Yeah. Serotonin is triggered by happy memories, going back in your life and thinking of the happy memories. So, for example, I went to Scotland recently, but I drove 10 hours in the car, and I was laughing my head off in the car because I was going in the past and remembering happy memories, and they were making me smile and triggering serotonin, and they became anchors for me to feel good about myself. Very powerful stuff, right?
That's very
serotonin is also triggered by walking in nature.
Wow.
You have to learn to do that.
Let me, it's got 2 more to go. Go ahead. 1 second, AJ.
Yeah, so you've got endorphins. Now, endorphins are triggered when you raise your heartbeat from the resting rate. So you use your cardiovascular and cardiorespiratory systems. So you don't just do you do a brisk walk. You go for a run. You go to the gym. You go to a dance class. You play tennis. That's when endorphins are basically released into your mind and the whole body, because they're pain receptors. They're meant to reduce pain. And in fact, women have more endorphins because women release endorphins when they're in labor.
Okay. And so they're releasing the pain, which makes it less pain and probably won't take as long, but they're also relaxing, aren't they? When you relax, that's when your whole body can have a breather.
Yeah. And when you do a really hard workout in the gym and your muscles are really sore, endorphins are released to numb the pain. And when you have endorphins flowing through your system, you smile because you feel so elated.
Oh, you do.
You've achieved something. You've exercised, you feel better.
You feel good about yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And the last hormone is oxytocin. And oxytocin is the love hormone. So oxytocin is what you feel the most of when you're actually in love with someone else. It's not exclusive to that feeling, because when someone else tells you that they love you, that releases oxytocin. When you tell someone you love them sincerely, it releases oxytocin. When you hug people, it releases oxytocin. So in the pandemic, we've not been able to do that.
No.
And that's why massive depression has been triggered around the world. That's why there's been more suicides, because we've not been able to use our natural, immune system to trigger those hormones. Because when you trigger those hormones, your immune system gets stronger to repel.
To repel and not receive it. Yeah, you're not receiving anything, so you don't care anymore. Yeah. So we're going all the way back to your original thing, which you first said is helping people.
Yeah. So when you help people, those hormones, oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, they're all there. And it's actually when you help someone, when you put a hand up, instead of a hand out, you give people a hand up.
Yeah, a hand, and you're lifting them up.
You're lifting them up and you're teaching them. It is the best feeling there is, bar none.
I couldn't agree with you. I had a show for children from 12 to 18. I had it for 16 years, and the only reason I never made money on the show. I did not want to make money on the show. I wanted to give children that uplift, that it doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, what religion you are, I don't care what you are. There is something within you. Every child, every person has something within them. And so I was able to relate my story, because my story is a little similar to yours. Yeah. And I was able to relate that to the younger generation and to help them, because I felt I was gifted with something that I suddenly recognized. And I recognized mine probably about 18, 19. I realized that, I can do something with me. I achieved something. I went to do something. I did it good. And I did it well.
You passed it down. And as we get older, we get wiser. Generally, yes. Not all the time.
No. Some older people go down and some older people go up. So I'm going up.
Some people get bitter and they blame society for the way they are.
Absolutely.
Well, people like you don't. They get wiser and they want to pass the wisdom on. And
I've got more to do. I'm not finished yet. I'm definitely not finished. Exactly. You had a quick question, AJ. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead. I wanted to hear the four. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Ninon. Real quick, just wanted to say we love your philosophy, Sir Marco. You're absolutely brilliant. And what is your magical word? Is it for your motto of life? Is it dreams? Is it change? What is it for you?
The magic word.
Life.
Well, it's an interesting question, because if you think about magic is about incantation.
Yeah.
And it's about waving your wand to make a spell, like Harry Potter that's why it's so popular. But actually, you can commune with the spirituality if you focus. And you can actually ask, and you can pray. You can go into prayer. And I've not done this in my early life. I've done it very late in life, because I've learned how to go into prayer and ask for things and actually receive it. And I'm like, oh my God, that only happened.
Works.
Yeah, I love this.
So it's not one word. It's actually prayer. It's prayer.
Well, that's the word. That's the one word, prayer. Yeah. That's one word. You got your words, Sir Marco. That's absolutely amazing. We don't have much time left. Marco, how can anybody reach you? How can anybody find your brain?
The best way is just to get to my Instagram, Marco Robinson Now.
Marco Robinson Now. So don't forget that. Go ahead.
It's a blue tick. I'm the only one, so you'll find it very easily.
Because you'll probably find it, very, very easy. It's like my name. Anybody put my name in there and it pops up immediately. Because
you're very distinctive. You're very distinctive, exactly.
But I didn't do it purposely. It all happened. And it's fun. I'm going to say it happened by accident, but I'm not so sure if it happened by accident. I'm not going to go that route. Because
it's always by design, darling. We know that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So your next thing is that you want to do. I better thank all the audience first out there. I want to thank everybody out there for watching and also for tuning in with Sir Marcus Robinson. Absolutely amazing story, because I'm very familiar with the story. I went through something very, very similar. But it's funny, but when you have that tenacity and you have that thing inside you that you're going to keep going. And I think the greatest thing, as one thing you said, Sir Marcus, is that when people give you a compliment, or when you go to help somebody and actually helps them, I think that's the greatest feeling and gives you the greatest up that you've actually helped somebody else. Actually, AJ and her husband were in town in Vegas this past weekend, and we were trying to match two people up. And we went to all this effort, the texts and the phone calls and everything else. So we did our part. We actually went down to the club to introduce the two of them, though we didn't know one of them, and one of them didn't turn up, but the other one was fine, and he said it was okay. And but at least we tried, and we felt good that we had tried. It didn't work, but maybe it'll work in the future. Who knows? But it's the effort out there. So I just want to thank all our audience for listening, and take note. So Marco is doing it right. He's actually, you know, doing everything. You doing it on Zoom, or how are you doing it, Marco?
I did what on Zoom, sorry?
Are you doing all your programs on Zoom, or just straight to your website or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, when people come on board with me, I do, you know, live classes on my Zoom, group coaching, one-to-one, all that kind of thing. Yeah,
all that stuff. So I want to thank everybody. I'm going to let AJ, you can count out, AJ. You say your words.
Thank you to Sir Marco Robinson. You are a success story. Thank you.